Hey guys, so welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney 2. Let's carry on where we left off. We're here at the Reaper's office, having gotten acquainted with his new assistant, who remains a mysterious figure. I don't quite know his identity, though I do have my suspicions. The only thing is, I can't quite make sense of it if it is true. I don't know. I'm just going off the title of this chapter, The Return of the Great Departed Soul. It's quite suspicious given how this chapter has already begun as well, talking about a certain mentor of ours that was supposed to be alive, but I digress. I don't know for sure. Probably I'm talking out of my ass. That's why I don't want to confirm anything as of yet. In the meantime, we've got to make a move. There's a conspiracy brewing regarding the death of a criminal. The head of a criminal organization, I should say, that died during the Great Exhibition. And our poor client, Professor Hairbrain, is in the firing line for murder. Also, they could examine his equipment. The one that he used for a failed teleportation experiment, so we're making a move back to prison. We let our concentration slip and we missed what he had to say, but I think we had to come to the prosecutor's office first to learn that the two of them may just be friends. So let's find out a little bit more about the relationship, I believe. Though I also don't think I presented the newspaper to him as well. So let's go ahead and do that rather than examine it. Let's thrust it in his face. How could this have happened? You must feel awful. As well as a man losing his life, the Crystal Tower was greatly damaged too. I know what happened! It must have been that! That? Ahem. The day before the demonstration, I had my usual meal of frankfurters at the hotel restaurant. When I paid the bill, they gave me 3 shillings too much in change. But instead of saying anything, I just slipped the coins into my pocket. They're still there now! Oh, I see. So you believe it's karma's fault, is it? The universe punishing you for stealing money? Or is it because the coins were in your pocket? Some sort of interference came into the mix. It's divine retribution for my wrongdoing! That's what this is! For a scientist, he has some very illogical anecdotes. Long and illogical. Illogical arguments? As a certain gentleman would say. Okay, cool. We didn't learn anything new from that apart from his guilt. The Reaper's varsity years. I understand Lord Van Zeeks is a friend of yours from your university days? Yes, that's right. He was studying law whilst I was studying science. What was he like back then? A good question. Unassuming, gentlemanly, an all-round nice fellow, really. Sorry, I think you misheard me. I'm talking about the cold-hearted, merciless prosecutor, Barak Van Zeeks. You may know him. Can you please tell me what I want to hear? What was he really like when he was at university? You can tell me. You don't have to puff him up. Talk about a leading question, Reno. Right? As I said, an unassuming and extremely pleasant gentleman. What happened to him? After all, he is the little darling of the Van Zeeks family with all its great aristocratic origins. I didn't realize he had quite such noble blood. Well, he is a lord, right? I suppose his family must be very important. Little darling? It was a bit of a shock when I came back to Britain and learned what he'd become. The Reaper of the Bailey, no less. I like how just any mention of his title as the Reaper of the Bailey, his music just starts playing. It's so good. I'm glad he wasn't the Reaper of the university. That would have been terrible. Every time someone got better grades than him, they just dropped dead. Yes, that's right. I did hear, though, that there was a very big event in his life that completely changed him after graduation. Really? What sort of event? Ah! You okay? Did he, like, zap you or something? You talking too much and he's trying to silence you? Or you fried a synapse? I'm sorry. But I don't know anymore. I wasn't in the country at the time. I was in Germany already. Oh. Yes, of course. I don't get the feeling you're holding out on me, Hairbrain. If he's heard all about the Reaper, I really don't have the heart to tell him that Lord Van Zeeks will be the prosecutor in court tomorrow. Well, He's gonna have to find out the hard way. So, Professor, let me just make absolutely sure I've understood you properly. The huge explosion that occurred yesterday, that was an accident, you're saying? You had no intent to harm the victim, who was, in fact, the sole investor in your work. Is that correct? That's correct. As 2 squared is 4. I swear it. Good to know. You could have said 1 + 1 is 2, but sure. I guess we can't be making 1984 references, which is what, 2 + 2 = 5 or something of the sort. Yes, it's true that the man perished in a machine of my invention. So I know that I'm far from blameless in all this, but still, I would never use my discoveries, my inventions, to take a person's life, not in a centillion years. I'm a man of science, it's all I know. You have to believe me, please. Do you believe me? Do you believe in my hypothesis? I believe in your hypothesis. I'm going to put all my chips on your hypothesis, Hairbrain. Science is the pursuit of truth, you know. I've always believed that all my life. I'm afraid I don't know much about science or your theories. Sorry. I said with Ryunosuke, science, not my forte. But I do believe you. And I will fight to prove your innocence with all my might. At the very least, it's not murder, right? Maybe negligence, but deliberate intent to kill him? Surely not. I'm a man of the law. It's all I know. You have to believe me, please. We have to believe in each other. When I went to live in Germany after I graduated, I learned something very important. Nationality, class, lineage, none of that matters. As long as you try your hardest, you can achieve anything. Oh boy, we're going with that speech, huh? As long as you put in the effort, you'll succeed no matter what. Thank you for that, Professor. And thank you in advance for defending me tomorrow in court. Alright, Rine. It's time. Time to visit the Great Exhibition. Is it really time to visit the Great Exhibition with this, pretty intense theme going on in the background? Sorry? Well, that's where the incident happened, isn't it? Okay, you don't have to shoot me for it. Yes, I suppose that's true. Time to investigate it lost. Alright, we're making a move, Hairbrain. Good luck. We'll see you tomorrow. Experimentation stage. The scene of the crime. Let's take a look. Aganda. 22nd October. The Great Exhibition Grounds. Foot of the Crystal Tower. Ugh. Showgrounds are a little too big for my liking. At least I'm getting my exercise. I've been walking around in dense crowds for 2 hours now. I felt myself swooning 3 times. Really? You've been checking out 3 girls, Ryunosuke? There are lots of people, aren't there? I've almost been trodden on 3 times too. Be careful, won't you, Iris? Don't let go of my hand. We finally made it through the throngs, though, by the looks of it. Here we are underneath the public experimentation stage where the explosion happened yesterday. I'm surprised that it's, crawling with people after that explosion. You'd think it'd be closed for at least 1 more day. There's the damaged crystal tower. What's going on? What's that? I can hear voices from up on the stage. It sounds like an argument. It's not Herlock Sholmes, is it? Oh, God. It's Lestrade and Gregson. Right, I've had it with you this time. I'm warning you. I'll arrest you in a minute. Oh, yeah? Go on then, Spectre. Give it a shot. You ain't got no evidence and you know it. Wait. I know those voices. You've got a cheeky little mouth on you, young lady. But a night in the cells will teach you some manners. Just try it, I dare you. If you want that bag of chips rammed down your throat. Yoo-hoo! Grexy! What are you doing up there? Eating my chips, damn it! I like how he's come on down to see us. Oh god, he looks like he's seen better days. Ah! Ah! It's you! Here! You're here! Here you are! You here! Your ladyship! I forgot about the sprite. How are you, your ladyship? I do hope you're well, your ladyship. Does that make her 3 times a lady? I'm not well at all. It's far too busy everywhere. I've gotten stepped on 3 times. Well, almost. I wanted to ride in a balloon, but there was a 3-hour queue. Unbelievable. I'll go and have a word for you at once, your ladyship. You'll be flying as high as a kite in no time once I pull some strings for you. Tobias Gregson, an inspector at Scotland Yard, as if we hadn't dealt with him in the previous chapter. Until recently, he was suspended from duty. But it would appear he's back in action now. I suppose we also have to recap the final chapter of the previous game. He's actually quite well known, appearing as he does in The Adventures of Herlock Sholmes. And for that reason, he can't say a word wrong to the story's author, Iris. But there are limits, surely. Or there should be. Watch the sunshine! Sorry. Point those chips somewhere else. What gives that? Don't tell me you're on this case. Yes, I'm acting for the defense. Which is a given, that's my job as a defense attorney.
So we're here to investigate. At gunpoint too, no less.
Damn me, that's the situation, is it? Is it really that troubling?
Measly 5 bob? Is that all you got? You're a lawyer, ain't you? You can stand to carry a bit more copper around your pockets, Mr. Naruhodo.
Thanks for pickpocketing me. Hey, that's my last bit of spending money, that is!
You can have it back, but I have to charge you for all the bother. 3 bob.
This is Gina Lestrade, a pickpocket, or diver, born and bred in the East End of London. I saved her ass and she's still stealing money from me. What the fuck? In the case that led to my own suspension 6 months ago. This is the young girl I was defending in court. It was a successful defense, mind you.
What's your problem, Odo? Diver? Pickpocket? What's with all the name calling? You want a bag of chips rammed down your throat and all, do you?
I thought you were proud to be a diver, Gina. You were just arguing with Inspector Gregson about it, weren't you? I assumed you'd be up to your usual tricks here at the showground.
That ain't no way to talk to a lady, Odo. Half a year's a long time. People can change. I'm an apprentice now. Learned to be a Scotland Yard detective. So you don't have to call me what everyone else does. It's Inspector Lestrade now.
Oh, there we go. There's the connection. Because Inspector Lestrade, of course, is a character in the real Sherlock Holmes' stories, and I was wondering why Lestrade was a pickpocket here. But nice to see that she's an intern of sorts. She's Inspector Lestrade. Inspector? That badge is homemade, surely. What the fuck are you inspecting my pockets for? The inspector part isn't entirely accurate. No one calls it that. For what it's worth, anyway. Investigating is off the cards for all of us. Oh, are you still technically suspended?
What's that supposed to mean?
Right, well, I'll be back up top. You hold the fort down here, alright?
Right, sir.
This raises a lot of questions. Right, well, I'm going to present my armband to you. I'm continuing this. This armband is proof, in Japan at least, that I'm a defense lawyer. It's better than your badge.
And this badge is proof that I'm a detective. So you're all gonna have to start calling me Inspector Lestrade.
In that case, you'll have to start calling me anything but Odo.
I could call you Defender Naruhodo if you like. But it don't really trip off the tongue.
No, it doesn't have a great ring to it, does it? Damn it. Attorney Naruhodo? Something of the sort? What about this newspaper? Gina, would you take a look at... Oh, where'd it go?
Hey, looking for this, Odo? Why don't you do that? I wonder if you've got anything else to show me, eh? What do you reckon?
No, I literally only have those 2 things in my court record. Give that back first, please. Thank you. Okay, let's catch up. About Gina. Fade to black again. It was 8 months ago now that I first encountered Gina, in connection with a case I was working on. At the time, she was living in the East End with a group of other orphans. She helped all of them survive by pickpocketing, but then she got embroiled in a murder.
I had a lot of time to think in prison. I realised I couldn't go on like I was. The diving weren't working out. Oh, I'm so pleased to hear it, Ginny. Well done.
So, you went from being a pickpocket to a detective.
You got it. Good, isn't it? Inspector Lestrade. Sounds like something out of a book, eh?
Talk about a sea change.
And then there's Iris' old man to think about.
Iris' father, you mean?
Yeah, I promised her, didn't I? I said I'd get all the police forces around the world to to pull all the stops looking for him.
Just a small promise then. Nothing serious, although you may have some trouble, well, not digging him up, so to speak.
Oh, Ginny, you're so sweet. So anyway, that's how I came to had to go at the test for Scotland Yard. Only trouble is, I don't read so well, do I?
Just a small problem. Nothing serious. Just nothing compared to, you know, finding Mr. Wilson.
And that's when Ellie approached Gregson and asked for help. So the inspector said he'd take full responsibility for Ginny and make her a sort of apprentice.
That was very magnanimous of Inspector Gregson. And brave.
Well, you know Hurley. He enjoys finding ways to make people do what he wants.
The great detective likes digging for dirt, in other words.
So, the long and the short of it is, if you've got questions about the case, you can ask Inspector Lestrade.
Right then, Inspector. Actually, there's still a big mystery surrounding Gina, isn't there?
Oh, what, Reno, what?
Well, 6 months ago, Gina was the defendant in a trial prosecuted by the Reaper, and she's not exactly dead yet. A trial in which she was found not guilty, and yet here she is still.
Come on, you're not still on about that, are you? The Legend of the Reaper, or whatever it's called? Cool. You don't half worry now, Odo.
But then, half worry, there probably wouldn't be a whole lot of you left.
It's like I told you before, isn't it? The Reaper's kind of like, I'm upstairs, so he knows what I'm like on the inside, but I ain't really done nothing wrong.
I know, but you were a criminal, you're a pickpocketer, and it seems that, well, his moral compass seems to be the guide for who ends up biting the dust. I suppose pickpocketing's not too bad compared to, like, McGilded's rap sheet. Nothing wrong might be stretching a point.
What about Mr. Natsume in Japan? He's perfectly fine, isn't he?
Well, that's true. Perhaps the Reaper's more discerning than I thought. I thought it was just because I'm just that great of a defender, so much so that I basically act as a shield. But McGilded did end up burning him to death, so there's that.
Exactly. So I ain't worried. I'm totally fine.
Good to know. Now, about yesterday's incident.
Court was out of this world, it was. The brainy bloke pulled a bunch of levers on his machine and suddenly it started billowing smoke. Then it just went pop. I ain't seen a better experiment here yet.
Sorry? Better experiment? This one literally failed. Someone died. There was an explosion. How was there nothing better? What kind of great exhibition is this?
You mean, you saw it, Judy? With your own eyes? Yeah, of course. The boss is in charge here, ain't he? Of keeping everything running smooth, I mean.
The boss being Inspector Gregson, I suppose. It's going to take some getting used to.
So all I have to say is that I'm on duty. I can do whatever I want to. Get this, I was up in one of them flying balloons when it happened, watching it from above. No, you're so lucky, Ginny. Maybe we should join Scotland Yard too. Yeah, do it. You know how to put the boss in his place already, right, Iris? You'd have no trouble at all.
Yeah, except just the problem that she's 12. I don't think she'll be good on the police force just yet.
Then it's settled. When do I start?
No, you can't join Scotland Yard, Iris.
We'll see. Anyway, what I don't understand is this. If the machine exploded so spectacularly, how can Professor Bunnybrain still be claiming that his experiment was a success?
I don't know, ask Lestrade. She's the one who said that there was nothing better.
Oh right, well, it was a success, in a way.
It was? How can it have been?
Well, when the man exploded, all his parts went everywhere, so technically he teleported. His arm went there, and his leg went there.
Successful experiment? Shortly after the whole machine blew up, no one could call the experiment a success.
It's like I said, it did sort of work. I mean, yeah, there was a load of smoke and all, and that whopping great bang. But where do you think they found the victim's body, eh? In the Crystal Tower over there.
What? In the tower? Interesting.
You can see for yourself, can't you? Up there above the scaffold. Oh, well, the glass is broken, you mean? Yeah, the cage what the victim got in to start with. The cage what the victim got in to start with really did get beamed through the air or whatever and landed all the way over there. So, you see, It did kind of work, didn't it?
What? I don't believe it.
I mean, I don't get the ins and outs of it, but anything's possible, right? With science. Oh, I'll tell you what. You can have this. It's a plan of the experiment they drew up at the yard.
Are you sure?
Yeah, go on. I had 3 bob off here before, so fair's fair.
Yes, I didn't actually give that to you. Did I? The sketch of the experiment has been entered into the court record and diagram showing the relative positions of the Crystal Tower and Professor Harebrain's machine that exploded. Well, let's quickly review that. Might as well. I see. So there were the balloons. I presume Lestrade was in one of them. There's the experiments, and I believe that's the Crystal Tower over there. Interesting. Right, about the investigation. Something Inspector Gregson said before seemed a little strange. Was worth, anyway. Investigating is off the cards for all of us.
Yes, naughty old Gregsy ran off after that without explaining himself. Oh right, that. The boss said no one's allowed to investigate that weird machine what blew up yesterday. Well, that's not fair. We're representing the defendant.
Yeah, well, that's being investigated because it's supposedly linked to a murder, so that gives them the right to comb over the machine. In that case, could you at least tell us what you've learned from your investigations?
No, you're not getting it. We ain't allowed to investigate neither.
Why?
What did the boss call them again? The Forensic Investigation Team, I think? Anyway, apart from them lot, no one's allowed to lay a finger on the scene. Bit funny, isn't it?
Oh, forensic science. It's making its foray into the legal world, so even Scotland Yard's own detectives can't investigate. Yeah, I've never heard something like that before.
I thought I could have a gander on the quiet though, but the boss caught me at it. Probably heard him giving me an earful about it before coming down here. Well, before from down here, eh? Didn't you?
God, it's so hard speaking in Lestrade's tongues.
Stop bleeding fair.
I think you were giving him as much of an earful back as I remember it. Give him attitude.
Yeah, well, sometimes I think it's all them chips what make him so stubborn. You say something to him, Odo. Go on. See if you can get through to him.
He ain't gonna listen to me. He's up on the platform above us, is he? Where the machine that exploded is.
We can try, can't we, Rune? Gregsy will listen to us.
He'll listen to you. Okay, well, I guess we'll make our way up. Cool. For now, though, I'm going to examine our surroundings. We've got the Crystal Tower itself. The Crystal Tower. It's certainly an apt name. It was built to be the focal point of the exhibition. And it definitely is, being so tall and with all that glass. I can't imagine a building like this ever being erected in Japan. Not for 100 years.
There are lots of exhibits inside the tower as well, apparently. Of course, there's an observation deck, but there's also an art gallery, a zoo, and a museum.
There's a zoo?
But I heard you have to queue for 3 hours just to get through the doors.
Well, at the moment, the shattered glass from the failed experiment may well be the biggest draw.
And thanks to that accident, the whole tower is shut.
Suddenly, it's not the Crystal Tower anymore, but the Crystal Glass Shower.
Apparently, everyone's taking to the skies now to look down on the disaster area from above instead. But there's a 3-hour queue to go up in the balloon now.
Londoners must be very patient people. They're all about their queues, their orderly queues. I guess we can look up this time. We're pressing H. Let's take a look at the big hole in the tower.
That's where the cove ended up after his instant kinesis or whatever they call it. Dead, of course.
And yet they're calling the experiment a success.
What's the wooden scaffold there for? Coppers, our lads, set that up after the incident happened. To get the body down, I think. Dunno, really.
Didn't you help to erect the scaffold then?
Nah, lookout duties more my thing. Wandering around the exhibition and keeping a lookout for the fun stuff.
Mind Gregson doesn't hear you saying that, or he'll give you the boot. It's incredible, though, isn't it? I mean, could the victim really have bridged that gap by some sort of invisible kinesis? No, there's something else afoot, of course. Can't examine the British flag, but we can look at the balloons. I've been meaning to ask you for a while now, but what are those funny round blobs floating in the sky?
Oh, they're the flying balloons I've been talking about. I want to go up in one so much.
I've read about situations like this in a magazine about strange phenomena, creatures from outer space coming in around flying objects to attack Earth.
What?
I suppose inhabitants of other planets are bound to be interested in the Great Exhibition. This is it, Iris. It's happening. Oh God, they're invading.
It's not, don't worry. I'll explain it all to you later over a nice cup of tea, Reno.
Well, as long as I'm not one of the aliens queuing up for 3 hours to board their spacecraft. What's that over here? A crossbow? I just noticed it before I was about to move on.
Ah, it looks as though somebody dropped something behind the trees just here.
Dropped or hid? I wouldn't call it hid. It's quite there in plain sight. What is this? Some part of a machine that exploded?
Maybe. Could have fallen from the platform above in the blast, perhaps. What's going on here?
Oh, nothing! I think I'll hang on to this just in case. A mysterious contraption has been entered. A very curious device found behind a tree under the experimentation stage at the exhibition grounds, almost as if it had been hidden there deliberately. Well, we're not presenting this to Gina, that's for sure. I will examine it, though. Have we got anything here? Underneath, perhaps? No, nothing to examine whatsoever. Can't find anything out of place. Oh, here we go. There's some sort of lever here. There you go. What is this? It looks like a cross between a bow and a gun. You're so close. I think it's probably used for the same thing, too. The details of the crossbow have been updated in the court record. It's a weapon. Folding crossbow. Well, is there anything else? There's the handle. Looks like you wind this around in order to draw the bowstring back and create tension. You must be able to fire arrows with a huge amount of force using this device then. In fact, I would imagine it's far more accurate and more powerful than a Japanese longbow. Ugh. I really had no idea what I was picking up when I spotted this at the exhibition grounds. Suppose not. This is where the bolt goes, of course. This groove here. Must be where the arrows are loaded, I suppose. So I was right. It's a sort of bow with an automatic firing mechanism. This would be perfect for someone like me who catches his ear with the bowstring 2 times out of 3. Yep, I can see that. In fact, if I had one of these, maybe I could have beaten Kazuma in Kyoto archery training. Too bad it's old in the past now. He's dead, right? Kazuma's dead. No way he's gonna make an appearance whatsoever. Is there? I don't know. If it is him, I don't know how he would have survived. Like, there must be an even grander conspiracy. What do we got down here?
Hey look, what's this? A ripped piece of cloth.
It's not like any fabric I've ever seen before. It's very thick and stiff. It's extremely durable. Are we still talking about the fabric there, Ryunosuke?
It's canvas, I think, with some sort of rubber backing. And the edges appear to be a bit charred as well.
Maybe that means it had something to do with the explosion.
Let's make a note of it while Ginny's been yawn.
A piece of green cloth has been entered, a torn piece of canvas-like material backed with rubber. It was found under the experimentation stage at the exhibition grounds. There are scorch marks at the edges. Okay, can we take a look at it? A closer look. No, everything just seems frayed. We can look at the underside of it. It looks like layers of thick canvas with a thick rubber lining of sorts. I've never seen anything like it before. But applying Mr. Sholmes' methods, you might deduce it was part of a raincoat worn by someone who really didn't want to get wet. And the charring must have occurred when the person was struck by lightning. Oh no, we're going down the Sholmes' rabbit hole of deduction. Or maybe not. Sheesh. What's next? Someone ate soap? These stairs obviously lead to the stage above. We should go up there and investigate the exact spot where their experiment was being conducted. Alright, let's make a move. What a big machine that is. 22nd October, Great Exhibition Grounds Experimentation Stage. I got a Ferris wheel in the back. So that's it, is it? The machine that blew up.
Oh, it must have been a magnificent explosion. And I've seen my fair share.
Surprised no one's investigating it. I thought the whole point of declaring a murder was committed was to investigate this machine. You've seen things like this before, you mean?
Of course, Hurley's always doing experiments that end in a bang. In fact, in his own words, explosions are the very essence of chemistry.
Ah, that might explain the smell of burning that frequently comes wafting up the stairs. Thought it was his toast, but no, he just wants to blow shit up.
One time he made something that exploded with such force it took the roof off the building. I wish you'd been there to see it, Reno.
I'm glad I wasn't. It's hard to get too excited about that, given that I now live in the roof.
Well, anyway, that's enough about that. It's time to investigate.
Plenty to look at. Gregson? Oh look, Inspector Gregson's over there. He seems to be deep in thought about something. Whilst eyeing up the machine carefully. Let's interrupt his thought process.
Really? He just looks confused to me.
Oh. I guess I'm giving him too much credit. Well, let's take a look at this main part of the machine first. It ripped itself apart magnificently, didn't it?
Magnificently. And mercilessly.
Someone stands in the middle of the machine to be disassembled and then beamed through the air.
Yes, beamed. Not blasted. That's the point.
Yes, that part's crucial, really. I mean, while the experiment was a success in that they fulfilled their objective, it wasn't quite the method that they were hoping for. Is something like that even possible, though, Iris?
Hey, Reno. I'm just a child. How should I know?
Well, you're the one who wanted to be an inspector at Scotland Yard. A child when it suits you, you mean.
From what I can tell, I think if you were to pull this lever here...
Stop! Don't touch that!
That was practically instantaneous kinesis the way you flew over just now, Gregsy.
Please, your ladyship. I didn't mean to startle you, but I can't let you touch anything up here.
So sorry, you can have some of my latest special blend to make up for it.
Wow, straight into it. I'm surprised there was that much in that tiny cup. Wonderful. This stuff really is wonderful. It's just like old times, this is. Looks like he's about to cry. Right. We're representing Professor Hairbrain in court tomorrow, Inspector. So we should be allowed to examine the scene. Ha! Listen, Sunshine, even I'm not allowed to touch anything up here. It's that blasted Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act to blame. It's driving me potty. The DSEA, huh? No, sorry, the SDSEA. Oh yes, that's Special Dispensation. The professor mentioned that too. More red tape's all we need. Do you know what the government thinks it's playing at sometimes?
But we're allowed to just look, aren't we?
Eh?
Surely that's alright, isn't it, Gregsy?
Of course, your ladyship. Anything you say, your ladyship. Please don't get your dainty hands dirty, will you?
Don't worry. We wouldn't dream of touching anything, would we, Reno?
She really knows how to get what she wants. Right, well, Gregsy, tell me about government policy. Using high voltage electricity to somehow disassemble a man's body, and then beam him across to the Crystal Tower. It's an extraordinary thing to attempt, especially in public. True, it's by far the most unusual in the experiments planned for the exhibition, mine. To be honest, I'm a bit surprised it was allowed. Carrying out something so dangerous with so many spectators present, I mean. Everyone's doing everything it can to promote new science and technology at the moment. They're more worried about being ahead of the game than the onslaught of public safety infringements. Of course they are. They just want to leave a legacy. They can be the first to develop some new technology that makes Britain more powerful in the future, you see. Yes, I suppose that's true in a way. Suppose that be a place of very heavy emphasis on scientists' rights at the moment.
What sort of rights?
They're making it so that any theories about the brains have remain their legal property, as it were. Right through developing it into a practical idea and even going into production. A patent, if you will. Which is the infuriating reason us coppers aren't allowed to touch this crime scene. Because the new Highfalutin Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act forbids it. Ah, I see now. The only people with permission to investigate here are from some brand new department at the Yard. The Forensic Investigation Team it's called. They're pretty fit, if you catch my drift. They've been relegated to keep it guard. The Forensic Investigation Team. Any old fool can see this heap of scrap metal was a sham to begin with. Just because it says scientific equipment on the paperwork. We can't do a flaming thing with it.
Poor Grixie. He's very head up, isn't he?
Special Dispensation.
Remind me again, what's this new legal act that means we're not allowed to touch the scene here?
I haven't me at it, Sunshine. It's the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act.
Yes. I think Hurley mentioned that recently. With a real twinkle in his eyes, I remember.
I'm sure he did, Your Ladyship, I'm sure he did. Passed especially for this great exhibition it was. All scientists have to do is present their ideas or inventions to some suits in the civil service. And if it gets rubber stamped, that's a guarantee of rights to maintain the invention's confidentiality.
What does that really mean?
Oh, you're talking to me now? Think about it. Think of all the world-changing new inventions on display every day at this exhibition. Although a good half of them are a loaf of cobblers, if you ask me, performed by shammers like yourself. Thanks for that. I'm not even pretending to be a scientist. Jeez, how am I being a sham?
Oh, I love how absurd some of the inventions here are. It's all so fun.
Might be fun to you, but a member of the force has to be present at every single demonstration. Can you imagine, eh? Hang science, that's what I say.
Oh, I don't think so. That sounds like my dream job.
You'd soon think otherwise after spending a day guarding all these shammers' bogus contraptions. But if they're all bogus, how can anyone hope to demonstrate? There'd be no point. Yeah, well, there is a point, sadly.
Sorry?
Is it to cover up the real scientific invention, so if there's anyone trying to steal a patent or something, they're getting confused by what works and what doesn't? Thanks to another government's bright ideas. If any theory or invention is deemed to show potential, the government hands out a research grant.
The scientists get funding?
Exactly. And that's what they're all after. All these shammers coming from far and wide to clog up Hyde Park. And who has to keep them all safe, eh? Who has to smile politely and welcome them? Us coppers, that's who. So you can see why I say it now, can't you? Hang science, hang it!
Oh, maybe I can see your point.
People just wanting a quick buck, so they'll present anything, even if it barely works. Professor Hairbrain. Apparently Professor Hairbrain lives and works in Germany now, conducting his research. That's right. Came back to Britain especially for the great exhibition, as I understand it. Probably after one of them government research grants.
Actually, we learned something else about the professor earlier today. About his time in further education. Turns out he was at university with someone we both know. Lord Van Zeeks.
Eh? What's that? That's used to be. But if Van Zeeks means the prosecution, then as the accused, the professor's fate is sealed, because the Reaper will get him one way or another. Although, he's had 2 strikes so far. With Lestrade and with Natsume. Blimey, that man's beyond me. I don't know what goes on in that head of his. Talking of Van Zeeks, this morning's paper ran the story of him being attacked. Read that?
Oh yes, but Mr. Reaper is completely fine. Nothing to worry about.
Yes, right. Glad to hear it. Still, the Reaper, huh? How long's that business gonna keep up? I wonder. As long as people keep dying on the stand, the mystery of the Reaper. The victim of this case, the investor, Mr. Asman. He was another of the Reaper's victims, or so I heard. But he didn't even testify. Lord Baroque Van Zeeks is a top-class prosecutor, but even he can't always push the right verdict through. Sometimes justice can't win. Yes, I've heard about jurors being bribed and evidence being falsified. And that's how the notion of the Reaper of the Bailey came about, isn't it? You can't escape, even if you bribe your way out. Obviously, Scotland Yard suspected Van Zeeks initially. We all assumed he was taking matters into his own hands if he failed to seal the deal in court. Turns out it was his assistant all along. Although the man himself denies that charge. Well, we've done a very thorough investigation, and the conclusion we reached is that Lord Van Zeeks is in no way related to the deaths of those people outside the courtroom.
There's no question in my mind. I'd stake my reputation on it, I would.
But if that's true, then how do you explain it? All those defendants couldn't just have coincidentally died if nobody killed them.
I know that, but I can't explain it. It's a mystery after all, isn't it? That's the whole point of the Reaper.
Professor Hairbrain mentioned something else. He said that at university, Lord Van Zieks was a totally different person. Easygoing and kind.
You what? You think a man named Baroque Van Zieks was ever a friendly guy?
He said that it was after they both graduated that something happened to change the man. Do you have any idea what it was?
No clue.
Really? I feel like everyone's lying to me.
Look, I've got my hands full watching over this frustrating crime scene. Why don't you go and make a nuisance of yourself elsewhere, eh?
Okay. Well, I'll just bugger off then. Thank you, Gregson. Sheesh.